Hey guys, this is Tyler here. I am going to discuss a topic here that I think is very, very relevant for all guys out there, and that is why having a high notch count doesn't make you any more of a man. If anyone doesn't understand this concept, okay, I can't get too descriptive here because of this channel, but I'll just say it like this, is that it's bedroom action. And hopefully every guy can understand here. But if you don't understand, look up notch count. I don't feel though that this is a achievement for men. I mean, I think it certainly can help to have some bedroom experience, because you won't be as flooded with emotions when you are perhaps given an opportunity for a girlfriend or marriage. You'll probably be a little better at controlling your emotions if you've already had this experience before. But going to the topic on hand, getting this experience or experiences doesn't make you more of a man. And this is something I see very often from many areas. It's not PUAs, it's from mainstream media, it's from all walks of life, especially nowadays, that this high notch count is such an achievement. And I can tell people this is just absolutely ridiculous. Unfortunately, many guys out there nowadays, younger guys, especially Gen Z, many of you guys have told me that you have not had a single experience. You have not had any bedroom action. Some have not had even able to kiss a girl or anything like that. And honestly, I can tell you it really doesn't matter. Any good man's not going to value you on the basis of how many gals you've batted. And this is just the reality. And what you also find is that maybe guys who didn't have a lot of chances when they were younger reach their 20s, many opportunities can come. I myself, when I was in my teens, no experiences, honestly. I didn't have any. When I hit my 20s, I did get some experiences, and honestly, it's not something that really gives a lot of value to a man. And this is kind of a myth, I think, that was first perpetuated heavily by like Hollywood and by POAs, as I've mentioned, and many other groups. And essentially they told men that this basically gave you some sort of value. And this is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't. In fact, I think it often, just as it does for women, it hurts the man's ability to pair bond. And you'll find this, many former PUAs will discuss this, that the more notches they had often, the more difficult it was for them to create any kind of decent relationship after, because you start seeing everything as like a body, so to speak, and you kind of lose sense of the person themselves. I understand most guys here don't intend to have a girlfriend or get married or anything, but for guys who do, or who have interest in this, I can tell you that for certain. I think even guys who don't have a lot of notches under their belt, it can certainly hurt your abilities to see stuff in the way that a guy who didn't have these notches would be able to. It definitely, I think, afflicts a guy often, especially in the first few gals that they've slept with. It certainly is something I think that sticks with you. Maybe after so many, you do lose kind of the emotional pact. The emotional aspect of it maybe goes away. But this is something that, obviously by nature, I don't think people were designed to sleep with hundreds or some crazy number of women over a lifetime. Guys might disagree with me on this, but this is just my feeling. And also consider, historically speaking, I mean, if you were like sleeping with a lot of gals, I mean, you were making a lot of children. I mean, they didn't have contraceptives a long time ago, and inherently, I imagine for this reason, this is why most guys didn't happen. You didn't have the unbelievable amount of resources concentrated in people's hands like you do now. Kings had wealth and everything, but it wasn't the same kind of wealth that people have now, and they didn't have all the technology, medicine. People couldn't travel around the world so easily, and now all of this exists. And so guys can sleep with a massive number of women and not have any kids, whereas chances are, even 200 years ago, if you did this, you would have several kids, most likely, because there were really no contraceptives or any good contraceptives, and it was very expensive. I mean, it was from the beginning to the end, the whole process. That's probably one of the reasons why there was such an honor code in most societies on this act, because it was understood that it was very likely that children would be would come about from this. And they had to obviously be very careful with these types of situations. And it's also for this reason why I believe that I said before, I don't think emotionally speaking, if you looked at it from a biological perspective, the fact that most guys wouldn't have been able to sleep with very many gals in their lifetime, I mean, I think it kind of shows perhaps that emotionally speaking, humans weren't made to have just an insane number of partners. This is just what it is. Now, many guys, though, I've seen this, that guys will bash other men who, and essentially they derive the value of that man from the number of people they've been with, number of gals they've slept with. I recall one time when I was in Slovakia, and I was with a guy, and he was bragging about how he had slept with like 52 gals, and then this other guy had slept with like, it was in the hundreds. I don't recall the number, like a few hundred or something. And after he had told me, he was kind of going on about this story. I basically inquired, like, what's the point of this? Like, what's the purpose? And he couldn't really answer me. I mean, it's like there wasn't any purpose. I mean, the whole point of this act was for reproduction, to have children, and that's the point here. That's what it really boils down to. And I didn't see this guy or his friend as some stod. I just saw them as just wasting a lot of time and energy on an act that wasn't even producing children. Truthfully speaking, a long time ago, if someone didn't have any kids, it really didn't matter like how many gals they slept with or how many times they did it. It would be kind of seen as a genetic dead end no matter what. If no children are being produced, it really doesn't matter. But the key point here, like I said, is that this doesn't have any real determination of a guy's value. This isn't what ultimate purpose that men were created for, and they have to realize that there's much more to life. Yeah, you may not have the opportunities. I mean, many guys now, unfortunately, are not going to have any opportunities. I mean, it's probably worse now than it was even a few hundred years ago, but it's the current era that we live in. Will this change in the future? Perhaps. Maybe it won't. I can't say. I don't think it will stay the same like it is now in some countries. I think just with economics it would change. Realize also that it's like a drug addict or an alcoholic. People often don't look at it from this angle, that like debauchery or having a drug addiction, that this can be the same way. Like the effects at post addiction can be very long lasting, and it's the same thing with having high notch count, sleeping with a lot of people. These effects, especially psychologically, can be very long lasting. And I mean, this certainly can be also like a type of gluttony. I think this is very much like gluttony for young women nowadays. Just like drugs, just like alcohol, it can be overconsumed, and it certainly is. And then of course there's the post effects, which can last forever, and this certainly is happening now. And so I wouldn't envy an alcoholic or a drug addict or one who had those addictions, just like I wouldn't envy a bedroom addict. It's not something that I would envy. It's like any addiction. It's gluttony. Basically, it's a gluttony now for a lot of young women. And just like most things that you consume, if you overconsume this, it will produce a lot of problems in your life, physically, psychologically, and many other ways. And that's what it is. So just remember here that there's much more to life, and don't worry about what the notch count of this person or that person is. Just live your own life and make the most of it. And that's all you can do. So give me your feedback below, and thank you.